Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sabrina Sally, and today I have another story time for y'all, finally, about the time that my friend's man threatened me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. So, before we get into the meat of the story, I've got a little bit of backstory for y'all. If you've seen my kicked out of a cult video, you know that freshman year I transferred from my cult school to the public school that my public middle school would have channeled into. So 6 weeks into ninth grade, I start at this public school. Now my cult school was much smaller than this public school, so it didn't have nearly the same amount of electives or any classes, anything like that. So at my cult school we had athletics, and that was the only option. And when I transferred to public school, my only option was to go straight into PE. I remember one day I was in the locker room and I heard someone talking, I heard a girl talking in the thickest country accent I had ever heard. And I'm from Texas. I hear twangs all the time. I love a good twang, but I had never heard an accent so thick, so strong, a twang so strong. And I'm looking around who, as a matter of fact, I thought somebody was faking it. I thought somebody was pretending to have a twang because of how thick this accent was. So I'm looking around who is that? And I finally see who's talking, and it's this beautiful girl with blonde hair and blue or green eyes. And we're in the locker room, so we're changing, and I saw her stomach, and she had the flattest stomach I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, oh my god. The next day we were all sitting on the floor in the gym doing whatever, and she came and sat next to me and just started talking to me. And so we'll call her Alicia got to telling me that she was from Louisiana, so that's why she had that accent. She showed me her leg hair, and it was this long, and she was just talking about how she had an older boyfriend in Louisiana, and so that's why her legs were so hairy, because she wasn't seeing her man. Alicia and I became really good friends. This is my freshman year, but she was a sophomore. We hit it off really well. I started hanging out with her outside of school. I would go to her house a bunch. She had 2 younger sisters, but one of them was a freshman like me, and she went to our school, but I just never saw her at school. And I met her a couple times at their house, but honestly she was never home, and we weren't there a whole lot either. Alicia and I would go do our thing, and her younger sister, we'll call her Jenny would go do her thing. She was friends with a bunch of people in their neighborhood, so we really didn't talk much, Jenny and I. Well, then our sophomore year, mine and Jenny's sophomore year, we started to see each other a little more at school. Alicia got this boyfriend, and so she would hang out with him all the time, so she and I didn't hang out too much anymore. But Jenny and I started to hang out outside of school, and I thought that Alicia and I were good friends. I thought that we clicked and hit it off, and we did. But Jenny and I, we clicked. Once we started hanging out, we very quickly became best friends. She was my sister, and she would spend the night at my house so much that it got to the point where if she wanted to go home, she had to come to my house and get clothes so that she could go stay at her house. She literally moved in with us and lived with us for the better part of our sophomore year. Jenny, because she was staying with me, would ride my bus home every day. There was one day that Jenny was not riding the bus home with me. I think that she stayed late at school or something else. For whatever reason, she didn't come home with me. That same day, this random girl comes up to me, she rides my bus, and she's like, hey, can I come home with you today? Things are kind of weird at my house. If you saw my growing up with a ghost video, this is that same girl that I talked about in that video who came home with me randomly one day and then said she saw a ghost at my stairs. Okay, so we're gonna call her Samantha. Samantha, I didn't know her. I knew who she was. I knew her name. She rode my bus. She lived by me, whatever. I think we had a class together in 8th grade, but we literally did not speak. she was like really quiet, and as the story goes on, we'll find out why she was so quiet. But I think that she talked to Jenny, and I think that's why she felt comfortable asking me if she could come home with me, because she knew that Jenny stayed with me. And on top of that, I think she felt like it would be okay, like my mom would be cool with it, because she knew that my mom was cool with like Jenny staying with me. So she asked me to come home. I said yeah. And later that night, she asked if she could spend the night. Now, the reason that things were weird for Samantha at home was because she had this boyfriend, and we'll call him Joey. Samantha and Joey had been together since middle school. He had left her a hickey on her boob, and her mom saw it and of course like flipped out, and that's why she wanted to come home with me. That's why things were like so bad at her house. And she told me that she told her mom that she left herself the hickey. I know that sounds really weird, but like if you have big boobs, it's actually possible to leave yourself a hickey on your boob, and she could have done it. She had big boobs, and so she told her mom that's what happened, but her mom was not buying it. So what started out as Samantha spending the night at my house to like let things die down at home turned into Samantha staying with me for 2 weeks. So this is like her staying with me and Jenny and my mom for 2 weeks straight. And during this time, like so much happened. Like she got sick and got better. She like spent the night with her dad once or twice, and then like he like picked her up from our house and dropped her back off at our house. Like it was like she was like living with us for like 2 weeks. It was really strange because like I didn't know this girl 2 weeks ago, and then next thing I know, we're like living together, you know. While she's with me, some stuff started to come out. Like it became kind of obvious that she and Joey had like a very controlling relationship, or like a very jealous relationship, and they weren't the only people that we went to school with who had relationships like that, so it was kind of easy to spot. Let me give you guys an example. At this school, there was what was called the Success Center, and this was basically like a tutoring lab, or like a tutoring center. Anybody who like had an assignment in a class could ask, can I go to the Success Center? And then their teacher would send them there, and they had tutors there that would help you do your assignment. The tutors were like younger and like all really nice, really cool. There was food and snacks in there, and pretty much like all of our friends just went in there to kind of congregate and like have fun during class time instead of sitting in class. Well, there was this one day that I was in the Success Center, Samantha was in the Success Center, but Joey wasn't there. And Samantha and I were like up at the front of the classroom, I think like signing in or something like that. And this guy came up to us, and he went to middle school with us. He was a nice guy, not anything that I think Joey would have worried about, but he came up to me and Samantha. So like I'm here and Samantha's here, like facing this way. Justin comes up to her and he's facing her, and she looks down, and he's like, hey Samantha, where's Joey? Like, is he coming? And she's just looking down, and she won't respond to him. And I'm looking at her and I'm looking at Justin, and he's like, Samantha, is Joey coming? Do you know if he's coming this period? And she's just looking down, and then she like looks up at me and like looks down, and she like won't make eye contact with him, like will not even respond to him. She won't nod her head. She's just like looking down, not saying a word. And he's looking at me like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Justin was like, okay, and like walked away. It was so awkward. I mean, it was the weirdest thing ever. So that's just like an example of some of the stuff I started to see. So eventually it started to come out that she's not allowed to talk to guys at all. And I'm like, okay, like he doesn't want you to be friends with guys, but like you're not allowed to talk. Like you couldn't have even like responded to Justin. He was asking about Joey, and she was like, no, like I'm not allowed to speak to guys at all. And I'm like, that's might be a problem like this weekend, like we might be hanging out with people. And she's like, oh, it's fine, I'll go to my dad's. On top of that, you know, we're telling her like, it doesn't sound super healthy that you're not allowed to even like speak to a guy. So she left and went to her dad's for the weekend, and then she came back and wound up telling me that Joey was super pissed, like pissed at me specifically. Okay, so while I was editing this video, I realized that the next part of the story, I left out some critical details, so I want to retell that part now. During this time, Samantha did not have her cell phone, so the whole time that she was at my house, I guess her mom had taken her phone, and so she would like use my phone or Jenny's phone. So when she was back with us, she was using Jenny's phone to text Joey, and they were going back and forth for a while, and then I think Jenny's phone died. At that point, Samantha asked me if she could use my phone to call Joey. They had been fighting the whole time. He was mad that she was back at my house. I think like initially he was cool with her staying at my house because he knew that like she was in trouble at home, but once he found out, I was like in her ear, you know, telling her that things sounded crazy in their relationship. You know, he was just like not happy about her being there anymore. So like I said, they were fighting. Jenny's phone died. She asked to use mine to go call Joey. So she stepped out into the garage and she called Joey. While she was in the garage, Jenny came downstairs and like showed me her phone. So I guess she had been going through her text messages, and this was like, she didn't have an iPhone. People still had flip phones back then. So she was like going through and looking at each individual message, like back and forth in the sent box and in the inbox. And she was showing me like what they were saying. And the main one that stuck out to me was a message from Joey where he was like talking all this crap about me, and he called me a bitch, among other things. And I was so offended because I'm like, how the hell, like, she's staying at my house, like I'm taking care of this guy's girlfriend, that she's in trouble because of him. I'm letting her, like, she's literally on my phone, like in that very moment, talking to Joey on my phone when he just finished calling me a bitch. So I was not happy. So I went into the garage. I was like, what the hell, Samantha? He called me a bitch. Like, are you serious? And I guess he heard what I was saying. So he started getting mad, and she was just like hung up. Like, she's like, I gotta go by, and just like hung up the phone. She wound up giving me my phone back. And then I start getting text messages from Joey, and he's talking all this crap to me, standing by, like calling me a bitch and just saying that I was causing problems for their relationship. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, again, I'm taking your girlfriend in. Like, it sounds like y'all have already got lots of problems and your families know it, and that's why we're in this situation. Like, she's here with me. I'm doing you a favor. Do you want her to stay at your house? Like, can you take her in? Otherwise, like, I don't understand why there's such a problem. Eventually, it got to the point where he straight up was like, you need to watch what you're saying to me. You don't know me. You don't know my family. And I was like, what the hell? So at that point, I started to get like scared because I knew that he had older sisters, but not just that. Like, his older brother was in jail, and I have reason to believe that there was some kind of gang-related activity going on in that family. I don't know what his brother was in jail for. I don't know any details. None of that's my business. But all I know is I was scared. I was like, do I need to worry? Like, do I need to watch my back? Do I need to worry about my mom? Like, do I need to worry about people showing up at my house? Like, his older sisters? Like, I just had no idea. And so that's why my husband didn't want me to make this storytime video. He just like thought we shouldn't touch that subject. But I think everything's in a better place now, so I'm not really worried about it. But I was scared enough to be open with my mom about this. And as y'all know, like I mentioned in other videos, that my mom like has always gone hard for me, almost like to a fault sometimes, to where she would like, I don't know, like chew other people out on my behalf. And that would sometimes like embarrass me when it came to like my friends. So a lot of times when I was in situations like this, I would avoid telling my mom things just because I didn't want her to like say something and then there's like more drama than I bargained for. But like I said, I was scared enough to where I told her, and she wasn't worried about it. But I was just like, look, Samantha, you have to go. Like, I can't have your boyfriend threatening me just because you're staying here. Like, I care about you and I'm sorry that you're going through this, but you can't be here. He's like crossed the line. And my mom agreed that she needed to go after that. So she did, and after she left, like she understood. We stayed on good terms, but I left this situation with like a new really close friend. Even though I didn't really want to be involved in this drama, I was like already involved and I just cared about Samantha and I wanted to make sure she was okay. Eventually, like, things blew over with all that drama. But there was one day that I was in the Success Center and Joey asked me like a very simple question about Samantha, like similar to the Justin situation. He asked me something like, where's Samantha? Have you talked to her? Something like that. And I answered and there was no conversation afterward, nothing. The next day, Samantha came up to me and she was like, hey, did you talk to Joey? And I was like, no. And she was like, he didn't talk to you yesterday? And I was like, oh, you mean like in the Success Center? She was like, yeah, he didn't talk to you. I'm like, she's like, you can tell me, I'm not gonna be mad at you. I was like, yeah, he asked me where you were and that was it. She was like, that's it? And I was like, yeah, that was it. And she was like, I just don't know why he's talking to girls. Like, he told me. So this whole time I'm kind of like putting my neck on the line, trying to tell him like, hey, the way that you're treating her isn't right, just to find out that she's doing the same thing to him. She's placing the same rules on him. So I was kind of taken aback by that. Especially, I was like, Samantha, it's me. Like, you're really mad at him for talking to me? Like, what are you worried about? Like, you think I'm gonna go like hook up with Joey? Like, he was asking me for you. Like, it was just so crazy. And like, I couldn't say all of that to Joey when the whole Justin situation happened, but I felt comfortable saying it to Samantha. I'm like, girl, like, are you serious? You're pissed off that he was talking to me? Like, okay, other girls fine, but me? And so she was like mad about it. Needless to say, that situation continued, and like after high school, you know, they stayed together. Now they're married and they've got 3 children together. They've got like a beautiful family. But I remember like it wasn't until after high school that Instagram became a thing. But I remember Samantha adding me on Instagram and I was like, wow, Joey's letting her have an Instagram? Like, that's a great sign. And so of course, like, me being, I wasn't necessarily trying to be nosy. I was just like honestly surprised that she was allowed to have social media, or like Instagram no less. Because let me tell you, I was in a controlling relationship after high school and Instagram was a real issue. Like, it was the longest time. I'm not even gonna get into that, but I was really surprised that she was able to have an Instagram. So I like went to her Instagram to see like, is she allowed to like follow guys and have guy followers? And sure enough, everybody on her Instagram was all girls. I'm like, okay, so she's got an Instagram and it's like an all girl Instagram, whatever. Like, it's kind of what I expected. A little bit of time went on, like maybe a year or two. At some point I ran into Samantha and Joey. I used to work at Old Navy and they both came into the store and they were like shopping for their babies, and I was showing them all the cute baby stuff because Old Navy has like really cute baby stuff, and it was all fine, like everything was great. Eventually, a couple years later, Joey followed me on Instagram, and so I was so shocked. Of course I followed him back, like we had tons of mutual friends. I know, it's like none of my business, but at that point I'm like, that's kind of weird because last I checked, he couldn't even speak to me, so he's following me on Instagram. So I like went to her Instagram and saw that she had like guys on there too, not like a whole lot or anything like that, like his friends or whatever, just people they knew together. So it seems like they're in a much better place now. Like, it seems like they've grown up and grown out of that toxic type of relationship where they control each other's every move. And another reason I think that is because there have been times where he, like, I'll post about my daughter and he'll respond to like my story or something. So I think that things are like in a much better place. Certainly for me and Joey, and Samantha and I have never been on bad terms ever. We've always been on good terms since the first time she started staying at my house. And honestly, it was kind of a weird thing looking back because, you know, she didn't have any friends because he didn't like want her to have friends. And then the first friends she did like really get close with and confide in, he kind of got in between that relationship, which is a common like red flag for like toxic relationships, we know. But it was this weird thing where after she stopped staying with me, Jenny and I were like her best friends, and she wasn't like one of my best friends, if that makes sense. And I felt I cared for her like deeply, like I genuinely cared about that girl, but I wouldn't have ever considered her like one of my best friends, with the exception maybe of the time she was staying with me. But like immediately after that, I was kind of like, whoa, like wanted to take a step back from that situation. I'm really glad that things are the way that they are today. They seem extremely happy. They've got a beautiful family, and there's like no bad blood to speak of. So that is my story about the time that my friend's boyfriend threatened me. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.